No out.
Good morning. The time is 9:03, and I will call to order the December 13th, 2023 meeting of the Contractors State License Board. I am Diana Love, CSLB Board Chair. This is a hybrid board meeting today. 4 board members are here in Sacramento. The remaining board members are participating remotely. We are joined here today by WebEx on this video screen. Board members will be using cameras during this hybrid meeting. Please have your camera on for the duration of the meeting. When you would like to comment during the meeting, please select the raise your hand icon in the WebEx application. Our moderator will call on board members to speak. When called upon, please unmute yourself, and when finished, return to mute. We will be taking a break today at approximately 10:30 a.m. Public Affairs Chief Catherine White is our host and moderator today. And at this time, we will do the roll call. Robin?
Before we take roll, I think there's 2 present here in Sacramento.
Okay.
Or the last minute changes.
Yes.
Okay, I will change that to 2 board members. Thank you.
Good morning. Before I take roll, when I announce your name, please let me know if you're limited on time and what time that's going to be when you leave. Diana Love,
Present.
Joel Barton.
Here.
Rodney Cobos.
Joel, will you be
Yes.
able to speak till noon?
Yes, I'm here.
I don't know if everybody heard what Robin said, that we need to know to confirm when he does the roll call if you need to leave before 12 o'clock today.
Oh, I apologize, Dave. No, I should be good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Rodney Cobos.
Here.
David De La Torre. David De La Torre.
He had a drop off and he's going to be rejoining.
Okay. Miguel Galarza.
Here.
Amanda Gaia.
Here, I will have to leave before noon.
Susan Granzella.
Here.
Alan Guy.
Here and get through noon.
Jacob Lopez.
Here, if it's permissible, Dave, I have a meeting at 10 that I got to step out for maybe 45 minutes. And if it's permissible, I can get back online. If not, I will be out for the rest of the day.
That would be preferred, what he's suggesting, Chair Love, that he step out for 45 minutes.
That's fine.
Michael Mark.
Here.
Steve Pinelli.
Here.
Jim Ruane.
Here.
Mary Tykert.
Mary's asked to join at 9:30 and she may need to leave early.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Robin. At this time, I will ask Vice Chair Michael Mark to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone, just please rise and move your hats. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will now ask if any board members have any agenda items they would like to be considered for a future meeting. Are there any board members? Are there anyone online?
Seeing none at this time.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce a special guest who is with us in person today from the Department of Consumer Affairs, Yvonne Durance, with DCA Board and Bureau Relations. Yvonne attended and introduced yourself at the November 29th Enforcement Committee meeting, and today she will provide additional information regarding Department of Consumer Affairs activities. And I also want to take a moment to thank her for her input and assisting Register Dave Fulk in the matters at hand. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I figured this might be better with the volume, but thank you for having me today. It's great to be here. My name is Yvonne Durantes. I am the Assistant Deputy Director with Board and Bureau Relations. I have a couple updates. If you do have any questions or follow-ups too, we did just send out our Board and Bureau Relations monthly email to board presidents and vice presidents on Monday. And so a lot of the information that I will just touch on briefly is in that email that I'm also happy to forward to any members that are interested in having all of the information I will be providing. A lot of the information that I will be providing and just touching on quickly too is on our fall newsletter, which is also posted on our board member resources page. I also just want to let you all know that I am happy to be a resource. We do have upcoming training deadlines, which are December 31st. And so if you don't recall which trainings you have already took, please feel free to reach out to me and I am happy to let you know what your training transcript looks like and what trainings are outstanding at this moment. And so just quickly, just want to provide you all with an update on our BCSH agency leadership changes. We do have a new agency secretary that was recently appointed at the end of November. Her name is Tamika Moss, and she is coming over from the Bay Area, and she will be beginning her term early 2024. Until then, we do have Undersecretary Melinda Grant, who will continue to act in her place. We do also have our DEI committee meeting happening tomorrow. So we will have additional updates and possibly changes in leadership. And so we will be covering a series of items, including hiring principals as well as it relates to DEI principals. Also, we did just launch the military portal. That was on November 29th, and the department did successfully launch it as a new process to support service members and their family who are following the new federal and state laws, which passed last year. And so this federal portability portal was completely built by DCA staff, and so we commend them for that. And also, this will be a great resource for service members and their spouses who come over to California due to military orders. If there are any additional questions on that, happy to answer them offline. As you all know, there will be changes to the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act beginning January 1st. There will be 4 options that will be available, and those are outlined in our newsletter and also our BBR monthly email. So again, it's a bit lengthy, but there are 4 new options, and so please refer to your registrar or your board legal counsel for any specifics if you are interested on whether something will or will not be permissible beginning January 1st. And just like I mentioned, the trainings are coming to a deadline, December 31st. And so if you have not completed the 2022 to 2023 sexual harassment prevention training, the supervisory version of it, please do so because the deadline is December 31st and you will be out of compliance if you do not complete it by then. So if you did complete the 2020, 2021, that is no longer permissible or within this round. So you will need to take the 2022, 2023 version of it. And lastly, I do just want to touch on, if you haven't already heard, we are currently still in the Our Promise campaign fundraising era. So it is board members and state employees giving at work. We did send some information to all board members on Giving Tuesday following Thanksgiving with information on how you may be able to donate, beginning with even just $5. I am one of the campaign chairs this year, co-chairs this year. So if you do have any question on how you may be able to donate to any nonprofit of your choice, please feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to assist you with that. And like I said, You are able to donate even as little as $5, which can make a difference. And so thank you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions or, send any information via email if you need. My email is yvonne.durantes@dca.ca.gov. And either I or David can also send you my contact information in case you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. We now move to agenda item B, which is for public comment and to request agenda items for future meetings. The board values public input as part of our consumer protection mission. To allow us enough time to conduct our full schedule of business today, I am limiting public comments to 3 minutes apiece. If your comments don't involve an item on today's agenda, this would be the time where you make them. If you have comments on one of our agenda items, we encourage you to wait until we get to that item. We will give you an opportunity to make your comments at that time. We also ask that your public comment relate to the agenda item currently before the board. There are a few other rules that apply. First, California law prohibits board members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment, and board members are not allowed to act on any item not on today's agenda. If you want the board to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda of a future meeting. And finally, if you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you do not discuss the details of your application case or pending complaint. That is because board members may be the judges and by law are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. For everyone's information, as a result of our hybrid setup today, we will be calling for public comments in 2 ways. First, here in person at the Sacramento headquarters, and second, online WebEx participants. Members of the public using WebEx, if you would like to make a comment, use the chat feature to send the host a note that you would like to offer public comment. If you are joining us on the phone and would like to make a public comment, press *9. We will take any WebEx comments first, followed by telephone comments. We will use the same system throughout the meeting for public comment during each agenda item. You will find instructions on how to make public comments on the agenda for this meeting posted on our CSLB website. Here in Sacramento, do any board members have an item they would like to place on the future agenda?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else? Okay, on WebEx, does anyone have any items they would like to place on future agenda? Catherine, do you see anyone?
See, but we do have public comment. Excuse me.
I didn't hear you.
We have a public comment. We don't have any board members.
Okay.
Excuse me. All right, Richard Markinson, I'm going to be sending you a request to unmute. You've been unmuted.
Good morning, Richard Markison. This is not an agenda item. This is a public comment. Do you want to take that now?
This is a public.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Great. Richard Markison speaking to you this morning on behalf of the Greater Bay Chapter of the American Fire Sprinkler Association with a compliment for the CSLB staff. The AFSA is pleased that CSLB has been cooperating and collaborating with the State Fire Marshal on enforcement of sprinkler fitter certification. That helps the entire industry by addressing situations where there are non-compliant contractors. AFSA appreciates that and commends the leadership and the staff of CSLB for these efforts with the State Fire Marshal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Seeing none at this time.
Okay. Are there any comments from the members of the public here today? No, I see no comments. I will move into our next item, which is the presentation of certificates of recognition, which is agenda item C. Today, we are recognizing CSLB staff member Renee Davis. Renee is retiring after 37 years of service at the board. If you can believe it, she began her career in 1986 with CSLB and has served in several different roles, but primarily within the Information Technology Division. She is known for her institutional wealth of knowledge and for being a fantastic resource for staff. Renee played a lead role in the implementation of the board's sponsored bill SB 216 that mandates workers' compensation insurance for specific license classifications. Renee is unable to be with us today. However, it is my privilege to read the plaque. The Contractors State License Board presents this recognition for 37 years of service to Renee Davis, Information Technology Specialist. On behalf of the board, thank you for your outstanding service to the Contractors State License Board, and congratulations on your retirement. And it's dated December 2023. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank Renee for her excellent work and dedication to the CSLB for all these years, and I'm sorry that she wasn't able to join us today. And I would like to ask, are there any comments from the board here in Sacramento on behalf of Renee? I see no comments. And on WebEx, Catherine, do you see anyone?
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Renee, for your service. I hope you get a chance to come back and just drop in and say hello from time to time and give us some more advice of words of wisdom. So now we will move to agenda item D through D4, and that is to review and approve the board members, and you'll find this on page 11 through 74 of your packet as follows. June 22nd and 23rd board meeting minutes. And let me note for record that the board previously approved these minutes at the September 23rd, 2023 board meeting. However, staff recently found a typo in the June 22 and 23 minutes. Jacob Lopez, who attended both of those meetings, was incorrectly excluded from the roll call. This typo has been corrected. As a result, the minutes are being submitted for reapproval. September 14th, 2023 board minutes, October 23, 2023 board minutes, and the November 15th, 2023 board minutes. I have recommended in the interest of time that a single vote be taken to approve the 5 board meeting minutes simultaneously. However, I will first ask if anyone has any edits to the minutes as presented. Board members here in Sacramento, do you have any edits?
No.
I see none. And remotely on WebEx, does anyone have any edits? You see anyone, Catherine?
Seeing none.
Okay. At this time, can I get a motion to approve the June 2022 and June 2023, the September 14th, and the October 30th, and the November 15th, 2023 board minutes?
Motion to approve, item 1.
Wait, second.
That was Jim Ryan.
Is that Jim Ryan?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments from the board or anyone on WebEx? Seeing none, Robin, would you please call roll?
Diana Love,
Yes.
Joel Barton,
Aye.
Rodney Kobos,
Aye.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza.
Aye.
Amanda Gallo,
Aye.
Susan Granzella,
Aye.
Alan Guy,
Aye.
Jacob Lopez. Jacob Lopez. Steve Pinelli.
I think that might have been Jacob.
Okay. Steve Pinelli,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jim Ruane,
Aye.
and Mary Tucker will be joining us soon. Motion passes.
Thank you, Robin. Next is the registrar's report. I will turn it over to Registrar David Pope.
Thank you, Chair Love. What I wanted to talk about this morning is the upcoming board meeting. Many of you have asked about board meetings in 2024. We haven't surveyed for those meetings yet because the focus in the next 6 months, first we have to complete the sunset review process, but we're going to be transitioning into the next strategic plan. I think most of you are aware that our current plan was a 3-year strategic plan that was adopted in 2022. It does expire in 2024. So where we're at is we have obtained a strategic facilitator, an analyst, a facilitator to lead us through this process. And that's Tricia St. Clair. There'll be a meeting with Tricia next Wednesday here at CSLB headquarters. And at that meeting, what will be discussed is a timeline for the board to adopt the next, hopefully 3-year strategic plan. What we're looking at is in January or February, conducting what they refer to as the environmental scan. That's where surveys are sent out to stakeholders. So between now and in the next few weeks, if you have any ideas as to what you'd like to see stakeholders surveyed on, I'll just give you some examples. For the last strategic plan, there was a focus on looking at the underground economy and what more can we do to protect consumers. It's always very helpful. What IT opportunities may exist. But the surveys will be sent out ideally in January and February. I'm going to try to coordinate with the facilitator for availability for a board meeting here in Sacramento. It can be a hybrid meeting. You heard from Yvonne Durantes that we will still have an option of having board meetings where the majority of the board will have to be in person, but we can still have some board members participate remotely. We're looking at having the physical location at the March board meeting here in Sacramento. And then the next full board meeting would be in June. And at that meeting, once again, we will meet with our counterparts from Nevada. They've asked that we meet in Orange County. So kind of excited about that. But that's where ideally the board would adopt the strategic plan. So after the meeting next Wednesday, we should be able to identify dates that our facilitators available. And then Robin will survey all board members for availability for a board meeting in March and then one in June. Be happy to answer any questions about the strategic planning process of the upcoming board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Registrar Pope. Are there any comments from board members here in Sacramento?
As counters fill it very quickly, please send that survey for board members as soon as possible. That'd be great.
So Robin, maybe by the end of next week, we could survey.
Yeah.
Are there any comments from board members on WebEx?
Yes, this is Board Member Susan Grenzel, and it's not necessarily about Dave's report, but could you please monitor the mute functionality? Because when we are on WebEx, we're hearing a lot of rustling of paper, and that's getting in the way of hearing the message. So I just wanted to call that to your attention. I realize there may have been challenges this morning, probably an understatement, but thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Are there any comments from the public here in the room? Seeing none, I will move to the next item, which is the CSLB budget update. We're now on executive item D6, the CSLB budget update, which begins on page 79. I will turn it over to Budget Manager Stacy Paul.
Thank you, Board Chair, and good morning, everyone. On page 79 begins the budget update. This summarizes our projected budget and expenses for this fiscal year, 23-24. CSLB has an authorized budget of $79 million, and as highlighted in the chart below, we expect to expend $91 million in revenue, $78.5 million in board expenses, and $6.3 million in mandatory external costs. Revenue should exceed total expenditures, which would increase our reserves to $32 million or 4.5 months at year end. If you flip the page, the first chart shows this fiscal year's budget and expenses through October. Nothing too exciting as we've spent 33% of our budget thus far. The chart directly below shows our revenue through October. Overall, I'm happy to report that we are exceeding prior year revenue by 14.3%. On the next page, the chart includes our fund condition, which projects out to budget year 24-25. The middle column is the current year, where it shows our beginning fund balance at $25.8 million. If year-end projections are realized as discussed on page 79, then we should increase our reserves to the $32 million or 4.5 months. Then if you look at the last column, which is next budget year, you can see if we can continue to replenish our reserves, we should be at $38 million or 5 months in reserves. Keep in mind, our goal is to annually maintain 4 to 6 months of reserves in our fund. Flipping to page 82, the chart shows our construction management education fund, which we continue to see an increase in annual donations. I'm glad to report that we have received final approval by the Department of Finance to increase our grant disbursements this fiscal year from $175,000 to $225,000. This will be discussed further in the licensing update. Lastly, let me quickly touch on the statistical summary details on the next 2 pages. First, the first quarter of the fiscal year, we're seeing a promising number with an increase in original apps received and new license issued. Renewals also appear steady for the first quarter, with a 2.9% increase over 2 years ago. This concludes the budget update, unless you have questions.
Thank you, Stacy. Are there any comments from board members present here in Sacramento?
Yeah, I'll make a comment. Michael Mark. When I first joined this board, I think the reserves were at close to 1 month mark. So I appreciate staff really trying to hone in the budgets and making sure we get that 4 to 6 month target. That has been really, really fortunate. And eventually, when we get to that 6 month budget, then we can figure out other ways to use our funds to help the consumers in California. So I appreciate all the hard work from budget staff.
Appreciate the help from all the secretaries I've had over the last difficult years. So,
Thank you. Are there any comments from board members on WebEx?
Seeing none at this time.
Thank you. Are there anyone here in the public that has any comments? Okay, seeing none. Before I move into the next item, I just wanted to recognize Rick Hines and Robert Blunt from Northern California Carpenters for being with us today and their continued support to CSLB's consumer protection efforts and collaborating to combat the underground economy. That's always a challenging thing for us, and I just want to thank them all. So moving into our next item, item 7, D7, administrative update regarding personnel and facilities, which begins on page 87 of your packet. CSLB is still in the recruitment process to fill behind recently retired Administration Chief Mike Nelson. Leading us through the discussion is CSLB's Personnel Manager, Ingrid Vitowski.
Thank you, Chair Love. So moving into the update for vacancies, CSLB averaged 33 vacancies out of 425 authorized positions in the first month of this 5 months of fiscal year 2023-2024. The personnel unit continuously works with CSLB hiring managers and Department of Consumer Affairs Office of Human Resources to identify and minimize any delays in recruitment for key positions. Next, Consumer Affairs Services Representative Classification transition. So in June 2023, CSLB began the process of transitioning from the Consumer Services Representative Classification to the Staff Services Analyst Classification. The transition is being made to better align with the analytical duties performed by the board's 32 CSR employees, as well as increase recruitment and retention efforts. The transition should be completed by December 2023. Further, on page 89 of the board packet, you can find the administration updates regarding facilities, contracts, and training. I do not have any specific updates to any of these items listed. However, I understand the pending request for proposal to evaluate CSLB resources to address unlicensed activity and unlawful practice in declared disaster areas will receive further discussion in the enforcement program update later in this meeting. And that concludes the administrative update on personnel and facilities. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Ingrid. Are there any comments from board members present here in Sacramento? Seeing none, are there any comments on WebEx from board members? Seeing none. Okay, any comments from the public here in Sacramento? Okay, seeing none, we will move on until the next item, which is information technology update. Please turn to page 93 of your board packet. Jason Perez, please update the board.
Thank you, Board Chair Love, and good morning, everyone. Today, I'm pleased to present the latest advancements of the CSLB's Information Technology Division, focusing on how these changes are not only improving our services for the construction industry, but also enhancing the transparency and accessibility for the general public. Our main effort going into the IT division is our business modernization. And we're concentrating on the application for our original contractor's license for sole owners. This transformation is designed with the goal of simplifying processes for our construction industry professionals. The new online application system will be developed in partnership with a carefully selected vendor, SimplyGov, prioritizing efficiency, user-friendliness, and clarity, benefiting both the construction industry and CSLB. We anticipate the contract to be signed in January. Current project that we're currently working on is the AWS Connect IVR system. This is understanding the diverse needs of the construction industry and our public. We are transitioning to the AWS Connect IVR system. This is a modern call center software which is designed to improve interactions with all stakeholders, including the construction industry and the public. The features that are included in this new project are improved call routing, where we'll be able to swiftly and efficiently connect to the right representative, enhancing the experience for both the public and the construction professionals. Next, we would have better data analytics to understand and address specific inquiries during these calls. And also to security, where we'll be able to protect the confidentiality of the information that is being shared to the CSLB call agents. We anticipate this system to be fully operational in April of 2024, marking a significant step in improving our services and capabilities for both the construction industry and the public. A project we just recently completed, which was the Microsoft Teams calling. We successfully completed the migration to this, move from our currently old VoIP system. This technological upgrade is creating a more cohesive and responsive communication environment for both construction industry professionals and general public. We were able to integrate voice, video, and messaging into a single platform for easier access for all CSLB, facilitating a more sufficient interaction between CSLB staff and construction industry members. This was an organization-wide implementation, ensuring consistent communication across all boards. With the completion of this project, CSLB is better positioned to meet the dynamic communication needs of our modern workspace. These technological advancements reflect CSLB's commitment to modernization, security, and customer service excellence. We extend our gratitude to everyone involved in this project for their hard work and dedication. The successful implementation of Microsoft Teams calling marks a significant step forward in our journey towards digital transformation and excellence in service. Thank you for your attention. I am open to any questions.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the board here in Sacramento?
No.
Any comments from the board on the WebEx?
No, this is fine.
Any public comments here in Sacramento? I see that. And I just want to do a quick follow-up for any members that is on the phone. Are there any, do we have any members on the phone that have any comments on any of the items thus far? Or any public comments?
Not this time.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. I will now move into the next item, which is legislation. The board meeting content for this item is provided separately in the form of the board's 2024 draft sunset report. There's a hard copy draft on the table in the back of the room for those here in Sacramento. Anyone following along online, there is a link to the draft report at the very top.
We have no sound.
I can't hear.
Undergoes before legislature every 4 years. In this case, CSLB's last review was 5 years ago. The legislature extended it an additional year during the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, the substantive report consists of over 500 pages, including attachments, detailing 5 years of CSLB's work in fulfilling its consumer protection mission. The first 150 pages are the report itself without attachments. At the June 2023 board meeting, former chair Mary Teicher appointed a 2-person advisory committee for staff to work with in preparation for the draft. I was pleased to be appointed along with board member Michael Garza to serve as a resource to staff over the past several months while the report was prepared. As the board is aware, at both the September as well as the November board meeting, staff presented and the board reviewed staff's draft responses and proposed plans for the required new issues and prior issues in the sunset report. It is now time for the board to consider authorizing staff to submit a final version of this draft to the legislature by its due date, the first week of January 2024. With that, I'll turn it over to fellow Sunset Advisory Committee member Miguel Garza for any other comments. Miguel, are you there?
Indeed. Thank you, Chair Love. First and foremost, I want to thank the staff and in particular Hannah for the outstanding and tremendous work in putting this heavy lift together, including a myriad of issues that we discussed and reviewed and had answers to. In addition to those items, we came to the conclusion that there were 6 items that were important enough to include as new issues moving forward that greatly increase the protection for consumers and also improve the processes for the industry. And so I think we've been a lot of work done, a lot of meetings done, and it could not have been done without the extensive work of staff and fauna. So with that, Chair Love, I pass back the baton.
Thank you, Miguel. I now turn to Legislative Committee Chair Michael Mark to introduce this item.
So I guess I'm gonna pass it to Fauna.
Is that it? Okay,
That's all I have, is particular items.
okay.
Fauna, could you introduce it? Talk about, there are some edits that need to be made, and we'll need permission to make those after this meeting.
Yes, so this item is up for approval, so we will need a motion. I'm going to discuss the content, but in order to give the board more time with the content, we sent it to you before I had a chance to look at this with fresh eyes. Also, we sent it to you before we had a chance to finalize. So when we ask for approval, that will be with the knowledge that the work left to finalize this are to add a cover, to add a letter from Chair Love, to add a table of contents. I would like to add an index of acronyms if time permits. I need to reread and edit with fresh eyes for typos, grammatical errors, things like that happen when you revise writing. I received some edits from Mariah, who was nice enough to go through this, so I welcome any and all suggestions for minor edits. I am hoping to have this finalized by Friday. We also need to add page number references. You'll see those highlighted throughout the draft where we make references in the narrative to page numbers. We need to add attendance for this meeting. There are attendance charts in the report, so we have to add that. And I will also, as part of that, I will be double checking Board Member Lopez's attendance at the last couple of meetings. I have added live links where appropriate, so if there's anything published online, there will be a live link in the report. If there's a regulation or statute section that's referenced, there's also live links there. And we also need to add the org charts. So none of this, it sounds like a lot, but none of this is substantive. These are minor edits. So when we ask for approval, it's of the content, knowing that this work will be done before submission to the legislature. Did you want to add anything, Dave?
No.
Before I get started? Okay, so before I get into the content itself, I received confirmation this morning from the Senate Business Professions and Economic Development Committee that although they haven't released their schedule, they are planning for, or they're shooting for late February, early March for hearings. So that might help your scheduling for the next meetings. This is due to the legislature on January 4th, 2024. And so I'm going to start with the part that the board members have not yet seen, which is the template questions 1 through 67. So section 1 is about the history and background, board composition, and program organization. This section describes and tracks board and committee meetings. On question 2 on page 15, I wanted to point out that in the past 5 years, we have not had a problem making quorum. That is rare, so I want to applaud board members whose commitment has allowed us to say this in our second straight sunset report. Pages 5 through 17 discuss changes to the board since the last sunset review, including reorganization, relocation, change in leadership, and strategic planning. This section also includes all legislation and that impacted CSLB and regulations adopted and approved by the board and regulations that are in progress. Those are on pages 18 through 23. Question 4 on page 23 asks about major studies. conducted by the board. We also included studies commissioned by the board. So those include an energy storage systems report in 2019. This was to introduce the board to the whole battery storage issue. The staff report on mandated workers' compensation for certain license classifications. This was to discuss the efficacy of requiring workers' compensation for all classifications. There was a study about, in response to Senate Bill 610 by Senator Glazer, to research the advantages to consumers in increasing the license bond. There was a 2020 fee study that led to our fee increases that allowed us to avoid insolvency. And then the two battery energy storage system studies, the ones by UC Berkeley and the one conducted by staff. So those are all attached to this at the end of the report, which is how we got to 500 pages. Are there any questions about that section before I move on to section 2? No? Okay. Section 2 begins on page 27. It's about CSLB's fiscal status and staffing. Pages 27 through 31 discuss fiscal issues. I want to point out on page 27, there's table 2. Between the fee increases of 2021, along with exercising fiscal conservancy and strategic hiring, the fund is up to 3.7 months of reserves, or at least it was on June 30th. So Stacy just spoke about how it continues to increase. So our fund is becoming more healthy. And so I wanted to point that out, that this report reflects that. Table 10 on page 28 shows the expenditure by program area. I'd like to point out that personnel services increased over the last 2 years due to us gaining 4 additional positions through budget change proposals and migrating the enforcement representatives in enforcement to special investigators, which are higher paid but easier to recruit for, and they have a higher threshold to meet minimum qualifications. So that's reflected in the enforcement budget line item or expenditures line item. You'll also notice on the examinations line item, expenditures went down by 1.3 million. This is attributed to outsourcing exam administration, and licensing saw a decrease from fiscal year 21-22 to fiscal year 22-23 after moving the call center from the licensing division to the public affairs office. You'll see that the administration line item has a corresponding increase in those same years because the public affairs office is part of administration. The rest of the fiscal portion discusses fees, the fee increase, and budget change proposals. Those are all standard. Pages 32 through 39 discuss staffing issues, including challenges in hiring, vacancy rates, reclassified and redirected positions, and staff training and development. Is there anything on this section before I jump to section 3?
If there's any board members on WebEx that have comments, please let us know. And Bob.
Seeing any of this?
Okay. So I'll move to section 3. This is the section that covers our licensing program. It's on pages 40 through 60. Highlights include on page 41, there are tables showing whether we meet processing goals as outlined in regulation. It appears as though we are not meeting those goals for home improvement salespersons, but so we explain in the narrative why that is. And the goal that's in regulation was from 1984. This was before fingerprinting was enacted. So that going through the sunset review process showed us that we need to update that regulation to a more manageable timeline. 6 days is not enough to get fingerprints. On page 45, table 6 shows our active licensing populations. which has been steady for the past 4 years. Although our delinquent and expired have increased, we are looking into the reasons for that. And monitoring our current licensed populations to make sure or find out whether that's an anomaly or if that's an ongoing issue. On page 46, table 7A, we show decreased renewal processing times. This can be attributed to the online renewals that were implemented during COVID and they've greatly reduced our processing times. And the number of licensees who use the online renewals has gone up every year. So there's a corresponding decrease in cycle times. And then on page 58, question 26 asks about existing statutes that hinder efficient and effective application processing. For those, I point to each of the new issues, which are legislative proposals that impact licensing. So where we saw an issue, we presented where we saw a statute that needed to be updated, we presented a new issue at the end of the report. So hopefully we can discuss this with the legislature, hopefully helping us out with that. Are there any questions about the licensing section? Okay. I will jump to section 4. This is our enforcement section, pages 61 through 60. Oh, I typed 69, but I think it's 89. 79, thank you. The most important question in this section is, well, arguably, is question 33 on page 62. This discusses trends that we've seen in enforcement as reflected by enforcement data. We have the same trends as we did during the last sunset review. These are increasing complaints, increasing solar complaints, and increasing disaster recovery or disaster response that puts a strain on our enforcement staff. Although I lost my train of thought. Additionally, we are on pace to have a record high in complaints and consumer complaints this year. That is not reflected on the table that's there. The reporting period goes through June 30th of this year. But currently, we're on pace to set a record above the record that was set by fiscal year 22-23. On page 65 and 66, we discuss the data that is not reflected in the table, but contributes to the pressures put on our enforcement resources. So those are solar, which is especially problematic at the top of page 66. You'll see we would have seen a small decrease in complaints had it not been for the 176% increase since the last sunset in solar complaints. So this is an issue that we highlight throughout. It's a through line in this report. Additionally, our SWIFT unit and the enforcement division, they do our proactive enforcement. They have participated in more disaster response efforts than any other year. So that contributed to longer processing times. However, we are within our goals, processing goals, and that is stated in the first question of the section. So I don't want to alarm. We're still within our goals, but they are increasing. Table 10 on page 67 discusses case aging, and you'll notice that the majority of complaints, which is 69%, are closed within 90 days. So our enforcement division is still performing very well in spite of the additional pressures placed on them. And then the last thing I want to point out about enforcement is our enforcement of unlicensed activity. This is discussed on page 71 and 72. Although consumer complaints are CSLB's priority, the SWIFT unit still actively works to curtail unlicensed activity through proactive enforcement and interagency operations with task forces. So I pulled information from reports that those task forces submitted to the legislature so we can show how much we do with when we work with other agencies. On page 74, question 43 asks what type of violations for which we cite most often. Those are in a table. We noticed that there are very different violations for unlicensed contractors and licensed contractors. So we wanted to point that out. And the majority of licensed contractors, the majority of those citations include home improvement contract violations, workmanship violations, and building standards. So, and then finally, at the end of enforcement, pages 77 through 79, question 50 asks about restitution. This is where we get to quantify our positive impact to consumers. We have more restitution authority than many other programs, so I made sure we put that in there. We have 2 additional tables. One is about the solar energy system restitution program, and the other is about how we are able to order restitution or get some kind of financial redress for consumers through other methods. So that was the best section to write. Are there any questions about that, about the enforcement section?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, this will move a lot faster from this point forward. Section 5, public information policies, is on page 80 through 83. These are about what information we make public on our website and our outreach activities. So on question 56, pages 81 through 83, that question highlights our public information office and the work they do to educate consumers and licensees. Those include online documents, media responses, in-person outreach, including senior scam stoppers and other public events, social media, and disaster response. Links are provided whenever there's a document that's posted online, so you can review those. Are there any questions about this section?